Okay, so Marvel Updates has dropped an update, of course, of what's going to happen with Shang Chi 2, and where it's going to fit in with the upcoming MCU slate. So Marvel Update says that in Shang-Chi 2, some members of the Agents of Atlas will come from different time periods. Shang-Chi will be able to time travel thanks to the Ten Rings. The movie will be set after Avengers Doomsday. So let me unpack that for you. The film is going to be set, we're going to go backwards from bottom to up, after Avengers Doomsday, but presumably before Avengers Secret Wars, because it doesn't say after Secret Wars. So that would tell me that they may be doing a thing where maybe the events of Doomsday don't take place in the same time that Shang-Chi's having his thing, or maybe in a different part of the world. Because for all we know, he may actually be back in China, and that could end up being like where the movie takes place. Now, this is not the last time or the first time they've done this. If you remember, after Infinity War, going back to 2018, Ant-Man 2 came out after. And then, of course, Captain Marvel was after that, but that one took place all the way back in 1984. But Ant-Man 2 was like the whole film took place prior to the events of Infinity War. And then, if you remember in the mid-credit scene, that's when everybody gets dusted. But Scott Lang is in the quantum verse, so he's safe and from being dusted. So that was cool how they did that, because we weren't sure exactly where that took place. I always assumed before, and then of course the mid-credit scene confirmed it was before. This is supposed to be after, so there could be a big event that's going to happen to take the Avengers away from the 616. Remember, we're in the multiverse now, so maybe a lot of the Doomsday battles are not in the 616. There's plenty of universes that they can go fight in, so plenty of places to go. Now, the time travel thing with the Ten Rings, I mean, that's going to lead into the whole Agents of Atlas thing. So the Agents of Atlas, it's kind of somewhat of a deep cut, because they never really had like a cartoon series or something that I think people will resonate with. Like as far as like anything past like, you know, the old school era. Because basically what it is prior to Marvel being Marvel, it was Atlas Comics. So Atlas Comics was like basically like a predecessor to Marvel, right? And they had their own superheroes. Now, what ended up happening was there were like what ifs, and there were reboots of the Atlas, the Agents of Atlas. So you had characters like Namora, who like Namor. You had Marvel Boy, Gorilla Man, and then later on, they added people like Mr. Lau and Lei Li, and actually Shang-Chi was in the group too. Like it was a good mix. They had a lot of like sort of the Asian type of characters during the War of the Realms storyline. So it does make sense. It makes perfect sense to have him work with the Agents of Atlas. I'm not sure that I was expecting it. Like I mentioned, the deep cut, because I didn't read much of Shang-Chi when I was younger. I mean, I that was not because I didn't want to. It's just, you know, when you've got the big titles like Spider-Man, X-Men, you know, the Avengers were around back then, Fantastic Four. Shang-Chi was just not a big title. He was not really a main Marvel hero. And I didn't really learn much about him until later in my life. I knew of him from Wizard Comics, or Wizard Magazine. I'm sorry, Wizard Magazine. Wizard Magazine was an old magazine. I don't know if it's still around. I assume it's not, but it's basically a magazine that would tell you how much comics were worth, like older ones, and it would tell you, like it would have in the back a price guide, and it would tell you, and sometimes it would tell you what collectible cards were worth. So. And they gave you like comic book news, like the movies coming out, the comics coming out. They interviewed the artists, the writers. So it was just basically like what a website would be now. You know, that's what it would be. So, yeah. So this all makes sense to me. I am wondering if Shang Chi and the Agents of Atlas are going to be fighting in the Secret War. This tells me, and I could be wrong about this, but this tells me that the likelihood of him fighting alongside the Avengers in in Doomsday is probably not happening. I mean, we knew that he was going to fight alongside the Avengers eventually. I mean, we just when they introduced him in Phase 4, it's like, okay, well, this is the new crop of Avengers. Now, at the same time, there's a few new characters they introduced that were supposed to be the young Avengers, like Miss Marvel, and that's been shelved. And the other piece of news that came out too, I haven't covered it yet, but here it is that Eternals 2 has been pretty much just scrapped. So the film, I guess they're gonna pick up with the Eternal storyline later, either with a TV show or obviously we know that Captain America 4 is gonna be discussing that Celestial that was in Eternals. So that will continue that story. So the events of Eternals certainly happen in the Marvel Universe. It's just that no more movies. Could be a show. It could be something else. It could be an animated series. I don't know. But that's scrapped. And to be honest, I'm not really mad about it because those characters, I liked the movie when I first saw it, but I've had no desire to see it again because none of the characters really connected with me. And those characters, while they have cool powers, again, the movie had a gloomy type of look. It didn't really connect with a lot of people, It really didn't. In fact, some folks straight up hated that movie. I didn't think it was that bad. It was definitely a step down from most of Phase 3 and a step down from Shang-Chi. I think I saw Shang-Chi first. I think that one came out first. I think it was a couple months before. But I lost track because that was a weird time period, yo. In fact, there it is. I pulled it up on the screen for you right there. Marvel Studios' plans for Eternals 2 have been reportedly scrapped. So it says that the plans for Eternals 2 have been scrapped. So that probably means that, I think the movie's not happening. I don't think we're getting it, but that means that could mean that whatever they had planned for the movie is going to change and they could still do the movie just with a new script and a new story. I just don't think so. It just seems like there's not any interest for these characters. Not everything's going to be a success. I remember back during Phase 3, we were talking about, okay, when, and it's going to happen eventually, when is Marvel going to have like a film that doesn't do well? Like when it flops or just doesn't connect with people? And there were a few in the recent phases. There were more than a few. But I remember leaving Eternals thinking, okay, that was neat, but it's a lot of new characters, and I'm not sure if it's going to work right now. And it didn't really work. It didn't. I think for some people it worked, but it wasn't like these characters just were not as compelling as Iron Man, Captain America, the classics, Thor. They were just far more interesting. But on the other hand, though, when it comes to Shang-Chi, I think that was a really good film. I really enjoyed that movie. And I thought that a part of the reason is because of how likable the characters were. And I wanted to be in that world with them again. And I do wonder, I'm pretty sure that the mid-credit scene with Captain Marvel and Hulk Banner, I'm pretty sure that's going to get resolved in this film, I would hope. So I like the idea of Shang-Chi traveling through time to, I guess, recruit the Agents of Atlas from like the 50s or the 60s or whatever. All that stuff sounds great, and that type of stuff makes for fun movie telling, filmmaking. Anyways, man, that's it for today's video. Happy Labor Day. Hope you're celebrating it. If you're not celebrating it, happy Monday either way. Have a good one. Take care. See you soon.